even don't even know maybe what the other buyers are offering. And so when the listing agents are coming back saying, hey, we're taking best and final, or this is our counter, and the buyers are going, I don't get it, right? It's like, cool, you don't have to get it. And I think that's part of the point is we don't need to we want to understand the thinking of the other side because it's going to help with our negotiation. We don't have to validate it though.
Welcome back to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. Matt Bonelli here with myself, Garrett Fry, and we are excited to be jumping into a new episode with you. And today, one inspired from a coaching call that I was on, Matt. We were sitting here talking about market price. We're seeing that inventory levels are still sitting pretty low. Buyers are still sitting there going, hey, you know what? We're limited in what we have as our options. And my coaching client said, their buyer said, I will not pay $1 more than the list price for that property. I will not do it. And they were like, the whole thing was trying to talk about like, we might have to improve our offer. We might have to step up. We might get into a competition with somebody else who might want this home. And they just put their foot down. And it made me sit back, Matt, and go, who to say that seller understands the exact market value of that house? Like that number out there, we need to not give so much power to. That is a random number based off information that they went, let's slap that one up there and see if it works. And by the way, if it doesn't work in 30 days, let's just we'll kick it down to a certain amount. And if that doesn't work in 30, we'll reduce it a little bit more. It is not science that got the exact number on that property. So I just thought it was great, Matt, and I want to just discuss this with you.
Yeah, I'm excited on this one because like it gets into the mindset of consumers out there, and it really allows us to look at, okay, how buyers and sellers apply their habits around regular consumer purchases to homes. And a lot of times as real estate agents, we kind of ignore those patterns and that mindset because you see it every day. You're helping people buy and sell homes every day. You see the people paying way over list price. You see the people offering way below list price. You see the list prices that don't make any sense. You see the list prices that you're like, oh my gosh, that's an incredible value. And you see the ones that are like, man, that is spot on. And so there's a range, but when it comes to the individual consumer, and I think there are a lot of buyers out there, just like that one you explained, Garrett, who are like, I don't want to pay over list price because they're just fearful about overpaying. It's such a commitment, and they're like, gosh, what happens if I overpay? And there's just this fear around it. Like if I overpay, that's the end of me. When at the end of the day, it's like it almost doesn't. I mean, it matters what you pay. Don't get me wrong, but like when we're talking about like a range of like 1 or 2% from whatever you think you want to pay, is it really going to have that much of an impact in your time in that home? Probably not.
Well, if you think about like how prices get put on most items, like if you go into a grocery store and there's prices on items there. If you go in to buy a car, there's an MSRP in the window on the Monroney that basically says this is the price that this car is selling for right now. When you look, and again, obviously we know you can go and negotiate and all that kind of stuff. But the minute it goes over an MSRP that is sitting on the window, all of a sudden, that's where people go, okay, yeah, it's like, well, what is going on?
That's crazy.
The MSRPs, you look at costs that are put on most products, it is a calculated, place they come from is saying, okay, we need this much profit in it. This is what it costs to manufacture it. This is what it costs to make that product. Here's what we're going to have as we put this all together in a package. We're going to mark this up this amount. So there's a percentage of profit in there, and boom, that is the MSRP of this product. Now we're going to sell these things.
Which literally has the word suggested, meaning not fixed, built into that language of MSRP, which is so crazy.
They've calculated this out and put it out here. Now, when you look at a home is an interesting thing because it is not something that we can look at after it's been lived in 10 years. And there's different wear and tear on this property, and there's different elements of it because not every home is exactly the same. A lot of them are custom homes. you take a custom home and you're like, well, we don't really compare to the neighbor's house next door. They're very different. The house on the other side of me is very different. I mean, they still got walls and windows and a roof, but they're different, very different of what somebody's going to pay for that and what they're going to understand the value is of that. And so then when we get in this mindset that whatever that offer price is, like an MSRP on a window, that much calculation has gone into what that MSRP is. Not that much calculation has gone into what the price is on this property, this list price is. Very much less so. They're literally looking at other homes that sold, but there's still different products and different things, and they're going, do you think we could try it right around in here? Like that's the craziness of this. And then you have these buyers that lock onto it as like that is the price. And it's like, no, go do some research. You go figure out what you want to pay for it. You figure out where the value is for you, and you bring your offer. At least they're giving you kind of like you're in the ballpark.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is a great reason why new construction operates a bit differently than resales, and why specialized new construction operates differently than, tract builders, right? You go into a new construction neighborhood, like the price is kind of the price. Now they'll adjust the price based on supply and demand changes, of course. But what you're talking about too, in particular, is this buyer saying, I'm not paying over. And most of the time we say, well, what does that seller know about the value, quote unquote, which leads to people thinking, yeah, they could be overpricing it. It's like, but they could be underpricing it too by a lot. So in some cases, I mean, I've seen it. We just had a client of mine who put a house on the market, and he was like, I'm not really sure. Like we kind of got this in the thing, and like, boom, the thing went almost $100,000 over asking, which he was like, whoa, I did not see that coming, because this house had some functional obsolescences, like not having an oven in the kitchen, that he's like, I don't know how people are going to feel about this. And he said it was interesting is he had the feedback was, and he got this one piece of feedback after they had just accepted an offer, because it was one of those automated like showing time feedbacks. And the person said, this is a crazy price for a home that doesn't have an oven in the kitchen. And he's like, well, they're going to be shocked when they see what this thing sold for at that point, which just highlights everybody has a different opinion of value. And that is particularly true with sellers when they're setting a price, even if their realtor is guiding them based on data, right?
Well, and sellers are really, really, really skewed in a lot of ways when it comes to putting a price on. So for instance, let's take the person that might underprice it. They may not even realize they're doing it. And maybe they're very, very well aware that they're putting a lower price on it because you know what? They want to sell. They're done. You take something like, I look at, right now my mom is very much wanting to keep her property since my dad just recently passed. She is like, this is my home. This is my life. This is where I'm staying. At some point, that home is probably going to go up for sale. At some point, that house is going to sell. My mom's going to be like, I'm out of this. And I'm going to be somebody down here in California going, okay, is it my thing that I want to get top value for that house? Or is it that I just needed to sell maybe at that point in time? Is it just time to kind of let it move forward? Or do we want to keep it? Well, we're probably going to keep it. We have plans for that house, by the way. Mom, if you're listening to this, don't worry about that. It's a scenario. But
I miss Fry.
At some point, we see family members a lot of times going like, we don't have time to deal with this. That property just needs to sell. Put a price on it to make it sell. That might be lower than what just a rock solid hit the number market value price would be of like, hey, you know what? We might be on here for a little bit, but we're going to wait for the buyers to come through here, see this property for what it's worth, and we're going to probably sell it for that price. To the other person, and we see this happen all the time, that they've got a ton of emotional baggage of what this house is. And I use my house as an example. Like nobody can walk into my house and see my kids running down the stairs on Christmas morning when Santa Claus has come. Nobody can see that but me. I've got 15 years, let's say a solid 10 years, because the kids grow up and they don't really care that much anymore, of them running down the stairs to have that moment. That's my memories of this house. You know, my kids sitting on the grass in the backyard, reading books in the sun all together and going like, look, they're all playing. The three siblings are all enjoying time together. I have that memory that's attached to this house that nobody else will see the value in. And I think it's a really important thing we have to understand is that some of these prices that are on these homes, they are skewed by emotional baggage. It doesn't mean that they're right. It doesn't mean what the hell does that seller think right now. In their mind, that value actually exists there. They can see it. They can taste it. They understand it. And it's our job to come in and say, no, this is all of my facts that I have that say why it's worth maybe a little bit less, and this is what I'm willing to pay. We get too hung up on that list price. And in this marketplaces, we really need to be having some serious conversations with our buyers to be like, let's understand what that list price is. And I'm willing to go in and back up any offer that you want to write and understand that they might have a different reason why that price is there.
Yeah. And let's also understand that other buyers will have different reasons as to why their offer is what it is too, because those same emotions and memories that you're talking about, Garrett, from the seller's perspective, you might have a buyer that you're competing with who's looking at the design of a house and be like, I've always wanted to have a house that has the backyard with the tree there. I can see my kids out there reading under the tree, all playing together. Like, this has been a dream that I want to have. And that could, for that buyer, say, hey, that list price is way too cheap. It is worth it to me to pay a lot more than that. While the other buyer's going, why are we in this competitive situation? I don't understand, because you don't even know maybe what the other buyers are offering. And so when the listing agents are coming back saying, hey, we're taking best and final, or this is our counter, and the buyers are going, I don't get it, right? It's like, cool, you don't have to get it. And I think that's part of the point is we don't need to we want to understand the thinking of the other side because it's going to help with our negotiation. We don't have to validate it though. And we can look at it as, okay, this is where it started. List price is just like MSRP, suggested retail price, right? And we can almost relate it to auto racing in a way, since we like to do that.
Why not?
Is when drivers qualify for positioning in a race, right? They don't finish necessarily in the position that they qualify for. That just helps get the race started. So everybody kind of starts in the position that they qualify for. And usually the end result looks a whole lot different. And that's the way real estate negotiations go as well. So if you look at it as hey, this is just where we're starting. Now, to be able to move forward and understand the value, whether you want to come below the list price or you're going above it. And this is where, as a buyer's agent, you need to have really great conversations and demystify the list price to say, let's talk about what this property means to you. And let's go look at the data on how we can position ourselves from a position of strength so we can get the best price for you on this house.
Let's look at the data. That is the word, Matt, because I think what happens is we don't give them a full breakdown of what this marketplace is, where these homes stand, why they stand there. What a lot of realtors do is they take them out and they go, okay, let's look at this house. Let's look at this house. Oh, you like this house? Oh, you like it enough to write an offer? Well, let me grab a little bit of data here and we'll write an offer on this property. Well, again, sometimes that data is very weak. I mean, I've bought a lot of homes where they're like, yeah, it's pretty much at market value. What do you guys think? What do you want to offer on it right now? And they're making these throwing these random numbers out almost, and how they're writing an offer of do you think we should go up 10,000? Do you think we should? Do you think we should hold? Maybe we'll just stay here right now. We'll see what happens. It's like, well, no, give them enough information so that they can take their emotional baggage of wanting to buy this house and what they see, and then look at hopefully enough facts that they can go, you know what? I feel really comfortable writing this offer. It's going to be a powerful offer. It's what I can stand behind. I know why I'm writing it. But that we've got to show them the data. We've got to show them the research. And I think the earlier we can bring that market information in and really help them understand the marketplace that we're getting ourselves into. It's not just about looking at homes. You've got to set them up to be buyers. And if you set them up to be really strong, educated buyers, it's the list price doesn't mean a damn thing. I mean, it's what those people want. And I mean, Sarah and I, when we moved into this town, I remember we drove down a street. There's a neighborhood over here called Sunset Sunset West, Sunset East. I think it's Sunset East. There's two side by side. We drove into it, and it's ranch style homes, big oak trees. And both Sarah and I drove in. My wife and I grew up on the same street together, and we're driving in, and we go, "Oh my gosh! Like this is the street we grew up on, just not in the town that we grew up in." And we seriously were like, if we can find a home in here, we will fight for this, because we're looking at raising our kids at this point in time. We're going back, my kids are 20 and 17 now. We're going back to when they were, 5 and, oh my gosh, 3 and 5. We're driving down this street, and Sarah and I are seeing our kids climbing in the oak trees, playing in this street, riding their bikes. It's going to be just like how we grew up. Like, that was the things that we kept seeing in our mind. Nobody can understand that. And it will influence how we're going to write an offer. It will influence, how we're going to spend our money. And we need to understand that stuff about our buyers. Like, we need to be in tune with them and understand where they're coming from. Because also, I know I'm just rambling here, but also as a really good agent, I need to know that, because I could easily let my buyers overpay for a property because they are just so excited about it. I'm like, you don't need to go that high. But we don't want to lose it. I get it. But let's, again, come at this from an educated place, because just like that seller that wants to sell for too much and everybody goes, why are they selling for that much? People are going to look at you and go like, why did you buy for that much? Because I got emotional baggage. That's why I did it.
Because I'm carrying a lot of these emotions with me. And this goes right to the theme that we've been talking about whenever we do conversations about pricing or the marketplace, which is the money is a tool. It's a vehicle. It's not the reason. It's not the rationality. It's not the result either, because what we're trying to do is help people manage what they want to do from an emotional standpoint with their ability, which is the financial standpoint. Yeah. But the tool of negotiation is often money, because that's something that we all have even footing on for the most part, right? A dollar is a dollar. Now, somebody who has lots of dollars or somebody who doesn't have a lot of dollars, there's going to be a different value placed on each and every dollar. But when it comes into negotiating a home, we're probably pretty level, because the person selling and the person buying are probably in similar, if they have the ability to do that, like, we're not worried about a lot and a little kind of thing. And that's where, if we use the data appropriately, we can help people negotiate from strength, because once we demystify the money, now we can pay attention to the emotions of the other party, and we can use psychology to understand. So when you have a buyer who's like, I'm not paying a penny over list price, and you say, well, let's just look at the data to see if this list price is even in line with what kind of the market trends are. And we go and find out that it's close, but maybe it's a little bit under. And you can then go to the buyer and say, hey, here's the data. Now, I know you don't want to pay a penny over list price. Tell me more about that and why. It's like, but now let's put ourselves in the seller's shoes. This is where the market is. This is where they're priced at. What's going to be the mindset of the seller if we offer a dollar below versus a dollar over? Right? Because now we can start to look at their psychology and put ourselves in a power position. Because if we offer a dollar over, which I know is kind of not what you want to do, they're going to be going, ooh, look at this. Like, we feel good. Whereas if we go a dollar under, they might be going, how dare this person insult us? What's that going to do to the next step in the negotiation for us? And what's important to you, Mr. Buyer? Do you want the house? Or do you want the, quote, moral victory here, which could result in you not having the house?
So the psychology of this, Matt, is amazing. And actually, my psychology background gets really excited about this type of stuff, of the power of what if you had a $600,000 list price home, and the psychology that would happen with you writing an offer for $1 over $600,000, which people would kind of be like, meh, like, that's kind of funny. Like, they went above, to the psychology of going $1 below.
Very different. Like, you're like, wait, it's only $1, but the dollar below is like, oh, how dare you?
Yeah, that's just rude. That's like tipping a penny. Like, why not just don't tip at all? Like, what is wrong with these people? Do you imagine? Oh, I get chills. That would be so much fun to do a study on. You couldn't do it, I don't think. Well, you could.
Yeah.
We'll have to come back to that.
I mean, look, this is a weird comparison, but look at the game show The Price is Right. If you are a dollar over, like you're out, right? Whereas if you're a dollar under, you're still in. And like, that's how much just a little bit of movement in money can matter for a Now that's not a psychology thing right there, but that's how much just $1 can make in an entire conversation. It could be the difference between you getting up on stage and going to the final thing, or it could be for you just being shut out. Yeah. And now typically when we're talking about real estate negotiations, we're not doing a dollar, but you'll have buyers be like, we're just going to always go 10% under, right? It's like, so that $600,000 house, like offer 540 or maybe 550, right? And like the seller goes, I'm not this has happened to me before. So listing that we were working on, this is when I was a managing broker, this buyer came in and this listing was wild because it was under contract and back on the market basically like I think 3 times, maybe not that much, but I'm exaggerating now because it's my story. But we definitely had this buyer who came in way low, right? Wanted a loan, all these terms and everything. And the seller was like, who is this guy? I'm like, no. It was just hard no on this person, right? And time went on, got a contract. That buyer came back again while it went under contract. Oh, now I'm going to up my offer. Still low. The seller's like, gone. Came out of contract. Buyer comes back. A little higher, right? I don't want this guy. Go back in contract. Come back out. Buyer comes up. Go under contract the third time. The buyer comes and says, like, I'm willing to pay you more than asking, all cash, and I'll close in 2 weeks. Now we're talking about this buyer just because they were the principle of they didn't think it was worth something, right? I'm not paying a penny over is that same mindset. Ended up at this point where the seller, we had an opportunity like, hey, we could cancel this contract and you could basically get 50 grand more. Seller said, no way. I don't trust that buyer. I don't think they're going to get it all the way to closing. I don't care if they've taken all of their contingencies out. It's like, this buyer has been honest. They've negotiated fairly. This is the buyer that's getting the house. And so from a psychology standpoint, like these are the things that can happen if you're just playing games strictly based on the dollars and cents. And you could lose just like that buyer did. And that buyer was pissed too.
Oh yeah.
I was like, well, you dug your own grave there, buddy. And so like, this is where as a buyer's agent, now buyers are going to decide to do what they want to do, Garrett, right? Like, it's not like we're going to be able to change hearts and minds just based on showing people the data. But if we don't try, then what are we doing, right? That's your job as an advisor, is to share the information. And then you get to choose whether you want to continue working with that person or not.
Well, and again, I think we're coming back to like this whole where we got started in this is that it's an interesting thing how much power we put in this one number that one party has decided to put on this house and put it out there for. And you'll watch it happen in neighborhoods. I've had it happen when I've been, living in a neighborhood and the house down the street goes on for a price that is way higher than what probably it should have gone on for. And instantly all the neighbors start doing the math in their head about, man, if it sells for that much, that means my house is probably worth up here, which means based on what my mortgage is, I've got this much equity. Oh my gosh, do you imagine if it sells for that? But they instantly take ownership that their home is probably worth about that much. Like they really start to take ownership in it quickly on one person that put a list price on a property. And I think we need to understand as the advisors that are helping people navigate through buying and selling homes. I think there's some great marketing pieces that could go out. I think there's some great social media content that could go out that would help people understand. Even when you do real estate reviews and things like that, there's an incredible place in here to sit down and say, don't ever get hung up that a list price is market value. It is one person's opinion with a whole bunch of emotional baggage attached to it of what they're hoping somebody will pay for their house with a timeline that they have where they're trying to get somewhere. This is where their world is at. It's a starting point. It is not market value. And man, I know agents that make, we have to get in battle wars with our clients over the, do we reduce price? Do we do this? And there'll be 4 other homes out there that are sitting there going, but all these are priced higher. Yeah. And they're sitting there. Like, I get it. But obviously they're there. So maybe we should hold our value. It's like, no, the whole thing is to get you sold, to get you moving along here right now. it's not market value. It's their opinion of what they think they want to get or what they hope to get for that property. And we just need to help people understand that. We have to educate it as part of our industry to be their professional and help them be able to make great decisions. We have to educate on this because it's going to come up. As we see inventory start to rise, you guys, and I'm not saying 100% we're going to see inventory rise across the board, but I am starting to see it creep up a little bit in some areas. Yeah. I have some people misinterpreting that they think they're in a buyer's market, but they're not yet. That means inventories are coming up a little bit. We just need to pay attention to this because as properties sit out there with certain prices on it, it is easy to get caught in that loop and think that that's market value. Yeah. Be careful.
You mentioned real estate reviews, which is one of the best things that any agent can do to help break down this barrier of like belief systems in list prices. And it's actually what we're covering today at the time of recording this inside the 11 Circle. So at the time of this being released, you can go back and watch that recording, that live coaching call that we did on real estate reviews, which is really awesome, which if you're not in the 11 Circle, go to lifeat10tenths.com and grab a 7-day free trial in there. Little plug there. But the real estate review is your opportunity to sit down with a client who is not in a buying or selling position and help them understand the movements of the market. It's not an opportunity to just say, hey, here's the value of your home, because there's zero education that goes on there. They can go pick a price off of any algorithm and they're going to get a number. Like, what's the difference of you just giving the number? Well, my data is better. Who cares? Help them understand why the value is trending in that direction. And Garrett, this is one thing that I think a lot of agents don't understand about the power of real estate reviews. Not only are you educating your people to become better sellers, you're educating them to become better buyers as well.
Yeah. You know what? There's a piece, Matt, that again, I love when you've done this long enough, there's tools that come and go depending on market cycles where it's like, okay, we don't need that one anymore. Oh, wait. What was that tool that I have in my, okay, yeah, we need to bring that one back in. We need to have, different dialogues that we'll share. Many people, I wouldn't say newer agents have never done this. And experienced agents have probably done this at some point, and maybe some of you are even going like, I've never even heard of this, but price lines are one of my favorite kind of strategies to do with people when you're sitting down with them. And you basically break it into, and I hope everybody can like visualize this with me as I'm sitting here talking to you about this. Write some notes if you need to. But like you write out, okay, here's the price line. We're going to go between 300,000 and 500,000. What are all the homes that are currently for sale right now? And you just mark them on the price. You don't even need to know, but just put all the numbers there and then say, okay, between that price point right now, and hopefully you have a home that you're thinking about, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, whatever it might be, in a certain neighborhood. You got to have those parameters built into this also. So we have all the actives. Then you say, okay, what are the ones that are currently under contract right now? And mark all of their prices on there. And then you do the solds. And you go down, what are the ones that have recently sold, let's say in the last 6 months, and you mark all their prices. It is glaring when you do it this way, where you're like, look at the properties that are like, these are all the ones that are active. These are all the ones that are under contract. These are all the ones that are sold. Like, you can see exactly where these price ranges start to fall. And my favorite one was taught to me by my friend Zan years ago. And he used to use the words, what are all the market rejected prices? And it was the fourth line, which is the withdrawals, withdrawn properties, but market rejected. And he'd put them on there, and they were always the highest prices. They were always the prices that were pushed up into a certain area. And it's like, okay, the market kicked those out. So we don't even want to play with them at all. Take them home, take them away out of here. Price lines is something that's gone away. We haven't seen it in a long time, and it's a great tool that I have a feeling we're going to start bringing back out as we start to help people understand what is true market value and what is somebody's opinion or price.
Anytime you can plot different price points and different statuses on some type of axis gives you the whole visualization of like, oh, nothing is fixed. Yeah. Because if it were truly fixed, we would just have it here. And that's the whole thing with real estate. We're not manufacturing widgets that you can actually go look and, well, how many are sitting on the shelf? Well, we need to adjust the price so we can get more of those things sold, and it establishes a new market price for that widget. It doesn't work that way with homes because there are no two homes or property that are exactly the same. And that's even why in new construction neighborhoods, you'll see the prices are very similar, but you'll see some variation like, oh, this one sold for, 400, this one sold for 407. In a broad market, it's like, there's not much difference in that price.
Yeah.
But there is a difference. And that's a difference definitely for that builder, for sure. And there's a reason why there's a difference. Now, as those two homes go out into the world and they spend their lives and they have different homeowners, those values are going to trend together, but they're also going to have little variations in there that might make them a little bit different. One home gets upgraded over the next 20 years, one home doesn't. Well, they both don't track with the average or the median sales price over time. The one that's upgraded is clearly going to be worth more than the one that's not.
All you got to do is change the garage door. Something as stupid as simple as that is you can put a new garage door on one of them and leave the old crusty 30-year-old garage door on the other one. And guess what? People are going to drive up to the other one and be like, ooh, this one looks really nice. And the neighbor's house right next door that's also for sale, same home, same setup and everything that has the old garage door. Guess what? Probably is going to sell for less. It's those little teeny things that make people see that house in a very different light. And that's why it's all personal opinion. Well, what really is different about that house? Just the garage door? Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Still, it's set a totally different standard for what that house is.
And when you go and look back at the data too, it's like, well, why did that house sell for more? It's like, well, what was the timing of what happened? Who was the buyer that happened to be in the market at that time? Was there, quote, luck playing into it? Who knows? I mean, just down the street for me, there's two homes, very similar, different layouts, but kind of like I would say a similar type of buyer that would be attracted to them. One went on the market while the other one was under contract. Then that one fell out of contract while the other one's on the market. But all of a sudden that new one is just under contract and on its way to being sold, and the other one's back on the market and sitting. It's like, well, why is that? They're basically the same home around the same price. It's like, well, now the timing of when that buyer saw that other house, even if the other one's better, it's like, well, that one wasn't available at that time. And now they're buying that one. And so there's so many things that go into this. The more you can demystify the data for your buyers is going to help them understand the market and help dispel this kind of emphasis on the list price and it being this like arbitrary kind of fighting wall that we battle on.
Yeah, it's not like going and buying a plant at Lowe's where all the plants are sitting there and they're all the exact same price, and you just go, okay, I like this plant better, but they're all $30. Like,
Right.
Yeah, Matt.
Wouldn't that be nice if you could pick out houses that way? Oh, well, these are all the same price, but I like this house better, so I'm going to pay the same price as this house I don't like as much. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that.
This one's leaves are a little bit greener. I'm going to go with this one. This one's a little bit, it's a different type of buying decision that a lot of people do not have experience with. They don't go through. It's not just like a normal everyday purchase.
No.
There's a lot of different moving parts to it. There's a lot of emotions involved. You are setting the stage for maybe years of what your life might look like or where you're going to make memories. Like there's a lot of stuff going on with what determines value for people. And it's outside of the realm of normal life, buying and selling a home. It is not something we do enough of. So again, as you said, demystifying, helping people understand, Matt, 100%.
Yeah. So, well, I actually have this other idea. It's probably a whole nother podcast, so I'm going to table that for the time being. And we'll pull this one to a conclusion and just say, hey, thanks guys for listening. We appreciate you guys tuning in. And I am curious to hear, comment below if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're not watching on YouTube, go over to YouTube when you have a chance, when you're not driving or running or doing whatever it is with us, and comment below on what you see in your marketplace in terms of how people respond to pricing and respond to list pricing. And in fact, on any of our videos, comment on what you're seeing in your current market, because you guys can collaborate in the comments of these videos of like, here's what we're seeing in our market in Charleston versus here's what I'm seeing in my market over in Reading or whatever it is. It would be kind of fun to see you guys engage. And also, share with us where you guys listen to the podcast. As we mentioned on, I think on maybe our last episode, and we ran this when we had the Facebook group with our old podcast, where post a picture of where you're at when you're listening. And in this case, go on Instagram or Facebook and tag myself or Garrett. That's Matthew J. Bonelli or Garrett_life at 10. And so that we can see where you guys are listening to the podcast. We love going on these journeys with you guys and really appreciate you taking us with you. And so we want to be able to comment and interact with you guys in that way. And that's kind of the best way that we can interact is you post it, you tag us, then we know, and we can go chat with you. It would be a lot of fun. So if you want to learn more about what we're doing inside Life at 10 Tenths, which gets you beyond the podcast, head over to our website, lifeat10tenths.com. You'll find our starter membership, which gets you videos about mindset, about book insights, gets you into our community. And then we also have our coaching program, the 11 Circle, where you get group coaching calls every single week. And you also can learn a little bit more about our one-on-one coaching. A lot of people have asked Garrett and said, wait, do you guys still do one-on-one coaching? Yes, we do still do one-on-one coaching. If that's something that you're interested in, we can talk to you about it and kind of do a little overview call with you to understand where your business is at and what would be the best tool for you to help you grow. We're here to help you and support you guys. So appreciate you tuning in. Garrett, anything I missed there or anything else you want to share before we...
The only thing I think you missed that if you're going to bother to head over to YouTube, subscribe.
Yes.
We have a lot of people that do check out that channel, that listen to it. I can watch in the numbers, and I know that not all of you have subscribed to the YouTube channel. That helps us out so much.
You're watching and you haven't subscribed, so hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, and then you'll never miss an episode ever.
Yes. So that actually helps out a ton. If you just subscribe, it helps this actually get out to more people. So we'd appreciate that. And other than that, have an amazing day, everybody. We appreciate you showing up.
Take care, everybody.